In today's video, we're going to talk about how Colin and Samir went from recording videos in their car
to hosting the world's biggest creators in their studio.
Colin, roll the intro.
So who are Colin and Samir? They started out as young filmmakers who launched the Lacrosse Network back in 2012, which was eventually acquired in 2014.
This was the beginning of a long and unexpected journey.
Building a YouTube channel based around lacrosse, not an easy task.
But it taught them that there are riches in niches. The whole world wasn't ready to consume lacrosse, but a vocal minority was going to rapidly consume a lot of the content that they were making.
They launched the Colin and Samir YouTube channel about 5-ish years ago, and originally they started talking about the things that they knew best themselves. They started vlogging.
As many people did, inspired by Casey Neistat.
Who wasn't inspired by Casey Neistat?
Everyone loves to talk about themselves, and it's a very common part of the creator journey to start off talking about what you want to talk about as opposed to putting the audience at the center of the content that you're making.
They eventually shifted out of making vlogs and into making videos centered more around creators and the creator economy. One of the things that they started doing was giving very thoughtful analysis on some of the biggest creators in the YouTube social media space and doing it out of their car.
This is relatively convenient.
It really is. We can control the sound, control the lighting. It's pretty convenient.
And you don't need a studio because when you're analyzing other work, a lot of what you're actually going to do is show that person's work and then bring your fine-tooth comb over it to really point out and highlight specific features. So they had the sound control, they had the privacy of recording in the car, but they were pulling clips from Logan Paul or whatever creator du jour they wanted to talk about.
And it wasn't until recently when they decided to shift even further and bring people in for interviews. But how did they actually get to the studio space?
One of the classic conundrums facing modern creators, artists, what have you, is that there is the art of creating something compelling enough to generate an audience, while simultaneously developing a robust enough business model to feed yourself, pay your rent, keep the lights on. Beauty of our relationship is we have that as a kind of yin and yang. Creative brilliance, business mind.
Works well.
Colin and Samir, because they were intimately studying the businesses of these creators and were thinking so intently about how it was they could make it, led to a couple paths that got them into a studio. Step one was simply garnering enough of an audience that AdSense got turned on their channel. But the unfortunate news, the unfortunate reality, the checks are relatively puny. Like on our channel, we get maybe a couple $100s a month.
Maybe that.
The more effective way to monetize for an early stage creator is through brand deals and sponsorships. They were able to get partnerships with softwares like Storyblocks that are selling tools and solutions specific to creators and videographers, the audience of their channel. They also were able to take advantage of Samsung's push to become the mobile device provider for the creator economy with a year-long partnership. When that advertiser buys with you, they are not just going into a marketplace, aiming for a general psychographic, and then letting the platform do all the work. They are choosing that channel because of a particular degree of resonance that they will have with their audience.
And we're here in the studio. Aaron, do you think having a studio matters for your content?
I don't think that it makes the content better. I think that it is an engine for the creator to feel good about what they're making.
That makes sense to me.
It helps other entities take them more seriously.
Yes, definitely.
And if a creator thinks that they are being taken seriously by people they admire, they're going to take themselves more seriously. I remember OG podcasts I would do in literally my parents' basement hard to get taken too seriously.
That's fair. It's tough to speak to this now because we literally shoot our most popular series of content in my own basement, but the car worked for a really long time for Colin and Samir. The other part of Colin and Samir's content that we touched on earlier in the car is there's a lot of sound control, and if you have an exclusively audio-based relationship with their content, then the shift from the car to the studio wouldn't be drastic at all. The only thing that really changed is the subject matter.
I agree that their subject matter changed, but I think that the way that creators should think about a space like that is the studio is in service to what the content is. Maybe if you're like Casey Neistat or someone and you can turn the studio into a character, but for most people, MBKHD, all of the great creators, their studio is in service to the craft of the actual content that they're making. And I think that that is how Colin and Samir are trying to move their studio. We also have to acknowledge, like, we do a research-based show, the Piper Rundown, and that is not easy to just show up to. That requires hours of research in order to be able to deliver value to the audience. When they are actually going in and chopping up how Emma's changed her content and pulling stuff from all these different videos, that's very different than just getting someone in the studio and letting them riff on who they are as a person. And so I think as a viewer, like, it's always talking about the creator. What about like how to be a good audience, how to be a good viewer? I think we have to empathize with the fact that they're working their butts off and it's very hard to deliver that on a regular basis. But at the same time, as a creator, like, you need to recognize that most, it's like Jeff Bezos and his customers, right? The customer is always going to want more. They're going to ceaselessly, they're going to want, 2-day shipping, and they're going to want 1-day shipping.
I believe that if you can focus obsessively enough on customer experience, selection, ease of use, low prices, more information to make purchase decisions with, if you can do all of that, then I think you have a good chance.
It's the same thing with an audience, and them recognizing that probably is why Colin says, creator only has so many pitches.
Despite how much their content has shifted over the last couple of years, they have pretty much stayed true to the about creators, for creators motto.
I think that that is really, to me, the fundamental differentiation. Every time that Colin and Samir clearly go above and beyond for a video, it's a banger.
It is a banger.